Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH News product review. The GROWATT Infinity 1300 is an upgraded 3000 cycle lithium iron phosphate version of the Infinity 1500 released late last year. It seems to now have the battery tech and features that most desire. But is it any good? Let's find out.
HOBOTECH.
As for the battery in this GROWATT, it's a 1382 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate rated over 3000 cycles to 80% capacity. As for size and weight, it's approximately 17 by 9 by 11 inches at around 42 pounds. And of course it rocks a quality LCD screen that shows input-output watts, time to charge-discharge, battery percent with icon, and a ton of built-in indicators for various warnings. As for the inverter, this GROWATT has an 1800 watt pure sine inverter with a 3600 watt surge ability from 4 20 amp outlets here on the side. The GROWATT does offer the standard 3 ways to charge. First, of course, is with AC wall power using just this cable. There is no adapter brick or anything else that needs to be added. Just plug this wire directly in and charge directly from the wall. It will charge at a maximum of 1200 watts, which is configurable inside their app, and at that rate, the GROWATT can charge to 80% in just over an hour or under 2 hours from 0 to full. Second method is by 12 or 24 volt vehicle, which of course they include this adapter for. That's going to take you about 14 hours. Last but not least, it does support up to 800 watts of solar through its MPPT controller with a surprisingly wide voltage range from 12 to 100 volts of maximum 12 amps. At 800 watts, you can top up the GROWATT in about 2.5 hours. Note they do include about a 10-foot cable that is MC4 on one side and XT60 on the other side. The Infinity does rock a single 12-volt cigarette lighter socket regulated at 13.2 volts, and it also does sport a pair of 5521 barrel plug outputs rated at 3 amps each. All these are regulated at that 13.2 volts. As for USB types, first you get a pair of standard USB ports good for charging up your dinosaurs, a pair of 18-watt quick charge ports, and a pair of 100-watt power delivery outputs. Note that the power delivery is monodirectional, it's output only, you cannot charge this unit with USB. As for other outputs, it also sports a 15-watt wireless charging pad up top, and this is a quick charge pad, which means you can throw your phone up there and charge it in no time. Now as for other features, the GROWATT 1300 does offer a basic 20 millisecond UPS or uninterruptible power supply, and this feature is good for powering things during blackouts. We'll go ahead and demo that here in a bit. Now because this does offer a UPS feature, it means up to 3 units can actually be chained together from output of one to the input of the other to essentially expand battery capacity. This does mean having the inverter on each one of the units, so it's really not the most power efficient method. And while there is no built-in flashlight on this unit good for flagging down UFOs, GROWATT does offer their own app called MyGrow that lets you remotely control the unit. GROWATT has really upped their game on the warranty front and now offers a full 5-year warranty on this product, making it competitive with all the big heavy hitters out there. And of course, we took the GROWATT 1300 here into my secret laboratory where I performed all kinds of crazy experiments, including, yes, of course, a double-fisted
Bang, bang.
battery capacity test. As for the DC battery capacity results, this scored 1139 watt hours out of 1382 for a solid 82%. As for the AC battery capacity, it scored an amazing 1240 watt hours out of 1382 or 90%. These numbers are a vast improvement over what the original Infinity 1500 scored. That AC result alone is in fact above industry average and beats out most other major players. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I've been sick for several days. I barely have a voice. I know I sound and I look like hell, but the show must go on. So let's go ahead and do the first test, which is a pure sine wave check under load. I have the GROWATT running under a load Let's see what the sine wave looks like. 120 volts, 60 hertz, perfect sine wave. Next test is the inverter capacity test, where we push this to its 1800 watt limit and see how much further can we push it. Okay, so this is the number here that you're looking at. It says 1600 watts. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 1800. And right at 1800, we get an overload warning. We're at 1900, 2000 watts, 2200. And right around 2500, it cops out. But what is nice is that it does automatically reset the inverter. I had to touch nothing. It automatically restarted and starts outputting again. This next test is the inverter capacity test, where we push this thing for 5 minutes at its 1800 watt limit, just to make sure nothing funky happens. Does it start smoking or smelling funny, or just acting inappropriate? Does it make funny noises? So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. Let's do 1800 watts for 5 minutes. There we are, 1850 watts, starting the timer. All right, at 3 minutes, 1850 watts, it did reset. So let's go ahead and turn it down by 100 watts and restart the test over again. There we go, we restarted at around 1740 watts. Let's see if it'll make it to 5 minutes. And here we are coming up on 5 minutes. Passed the test, no problems. So now that the inverter is running nice and hot and the fans are on maximum, let's see what the decibels are. So around 50 decibels. This isn't necessarily loud, but the fans are a little bit on the high pitch side. On to the max charge rate test. This is where we determine how fast can we charge the Infinity 1300. Now, there's obviously multiple ways to charge. We're going to start with AC power, and if you go into their app, you actually have the option there to do 400, 800, or 1200 watts. So we're going to go ahead and put it on 1200 watts, which is the fastest setting, and see how fast can it charge from the wall. The Infinity is only letting me charge at 800 watts, and I tried all 3 settings. All 3 settings work except for the 1200 watt. Now, I don't know if it's because we just did a discharge test and it's hot. Maybe the battery's too hot to charge faster than that, but I don't have time to wait hours for this thing to cool down, so we're going to call this the 800 watt charge rate. It's confirmed right there in the manual. It says 1200 watt max charge rate from AC. And I'm still letting it sit here about 10 minutes now, and it's maxing out at 780. Now, I don't know what to say about this. This seems to be one of those power stations that will slow down its charging rate if the battery's a little bit warm. What are you going to do? I guess if you want to charge it at the 1200 watt rate, don't discharge it first. You're going to need to make sure you have a cold battery, and hopefully you'll get that 1200 watt charge rate. Maybe I'll test this again later, see if I can get 1200 watts. So anyway, it is what it is. That's the result we got. Next is the max charge rate from DC. We have the variable voltage charger plugged into the solar port. I'm inputting 12.7 volts, and it's taking 8 amps for a total of 100 watts of charging from 12 volt. So let's bump this up to solar panel voltage, which is around 18, 19 volts. Okay, solar panel voltage, it is still inputting 8.2 amps. Maxing out at 148 watts. That means if the solar panel you're using has a nominal voltage around 18, 19 volts, you can expect a maximum of 148 watts. So let's see if we do a little better at 22 volts. Upper end, single solar panel range, and it's charging at 173 watts. So let's go ahead and keep going. Now the GROWATT 1300 can take up to 100 volts. So let's just go for the gusto and see what kind of solar input we get. Well, now it's maxing out at 730 on the solar instead of 800, which I just had it at 800. Let me reset this again. All right, I've been messing around with the voltages. It's not making much of a difference. I'm here at 80 volts, 9.2 amps, 730 watts. I'll bump this up to 90 volts. You'll see it won't change. It'll be 730 watts. Now, I did have it hit 800 before. I just wasn't filming when I did it. I don't know why now this thing's limiting to 730 watts instead of 800. The battery is significantly cooled by now. We're only charged to 67%. There's no amp limit here. This thing can provide way more amps than this can take in, so it's not a limit on the amps. There we are at 730 watts again. Take it up to the 100 volts maximum, you'll see it won't make any difference. It's still going to be 730 watts. Now, how much more over 100 volts can we go? Probably not very much. If I remember the last GROWATT, it doesn't let you go too far above 100 volts. 106, 107, and right there, around 105, 106, it seemed to shut down. Allow 105, just to know if it'll do it. Yes, it does allow 105. So max charge rate is 730 watts from the solar port, no matter what voltage you input. Now, what about the decibels? How loud is this thing while it's charging? It's definitely quieter than discharging, but let's test it. So 48 decibels, it's definitely a little bit quieter. Next test is simultaneous charging. We're charging from the wall currently at 800 watts. Let's go ahead and turn on the solar and see, does it allow charging from both AC and DC simultaneously? Now watch the input here as the solar kicks in. If this increases, then we know it supports simultaneous charging. And you see the wattage is changing, but it's not going up. Usually these power stations, they will, if you have them both plugged in at the same time, it'll either charge faster or it will take the solar first and ignore the AC, or it'll just take the AC and ignore the solar. So it does seem to be favoring the solar input, but not completely. Well, the amps are slightly going up. Let's sit here and wait and see if it completely takes over the AC charging, which it kind of should. It looks like we're getting up to 7 amps now, 700 watts. All right, so officially, yes, it does support simultaneous charging, and it favors solar. So if you have AC plugged in and solar at the same time, if you have enough solar, it will favor that completely. So right now it is charging entirely from solar and ignoring the AC power coming in. Now, if you didn't have enough solar, the rest is going to charge from AC power. So that's how it is. It favors solar, but this does support simultaneous charging. Now, the GROWATT does have a pair of USB power delivery outputs. These are output only. I have 2 5-amp cables going to 2 power bands, which can charge at 100 watts each. And it is, of course, outputting almost 200 watts, which means the USB test passed. Now, does the GROWATT 1300 have a UPS relay inside? And UPS stands for uninterruptible power supply. Meaning if you have the GROWATT plugged into grid power or AC wall power, and you have sensitive electronics plugged in, which in this case I have my laptop with no battery plugged into the inverter's turned on, so it's actually passing the power through and powering the laptop right now. Now, if the power were to go out and the grid power gets disconnected, will the laptop stay running or will it shut off? Now, GROWATT does claim this is a 20 millisecond switchover time, which should be plenty fast enough for this laptop. I noticed if it's anywhere over 30 milliseconds, this laptop will shut off. And on my last solar generator review, I went on a bit of a rant about this test, saying most people don't like the fact that I'm using a laptop without a battery, then instead I should be using a full tower computer in here with water cooling and super graphics cards and stuff. And the fact is, if this switch is fast enough to keep this laptop going, it should be fast enough to keep your desktop PC online. Now, this is not a professional solution. If you're running $10,000 worth of equipment off this, you should really go get a real UPS. As soon as I hit this switch, it turns the power off to the GROWATT, and we'll see, will the laptop stay powered or not? Go ahead, place your bets. 3, 2, 1. Bada bing, no problem. So the GROWATT does have a fast enough switching UPS feature to keep a computer running. All right, just to prove to you that the laptop is plugged into this and not plugged in anywhere else, there you go. 12 volt output test. You can see here the 12 volt output is regulated at 13.2 volts. Let's go ahead and see if it can pull the 10 amps claimed. And there you have it. It can pull 10 amps and still hold 12.5 volts. What about wireless charging? The GROWATT 1300 does have a wireless charging pad on the top. You do have to turn on DC power to activate it. My phone does support wireless charging. In fact, it supports wireless fast charging. Let's stick it on the top. So first you'll hear a beep, and then it'll start charging. And it does actually say fast charging on it, so my phone will charge up to full in about an hour, which is pretty cool. You can clearly see here it's outputting 10 watts to my phone, which is a lot of power for a cell phone. So this actually does register. A lot of power stations, this will not register what is coming out of the wireless charger, but this one does. Musician's favorite amp interference test. This is where we run an audio amplifier off the inverter to see, is it noisy? Is it buzzy? Does it make poppy clicky sounds? Or is it nice and clean? Now, I don't remember what the other GROWATTs did, if they passed or failed this test. All I gotta do is turn the inverter on, and we'll see what we get. Now that is whisper quiet. So that means you have no problems rocking out in your band using the GROWATT. You run a PA system, all kinds of audio amplifier gear. No problems with the GROWATT. It's not going to make a bunch of noise out of the speakers or headphones. Now what about the app? Now I've demoed the MyGrowGo app several times on the other GROWATT products, but let's just go over it really quick. You can see here it's got input output at the top. You can switch back and forth between the two. It's showing you time to charge, discharge, input, output watts. And it shows you if you're charging with solar or charging with wall power, which we are doing right now. It's still not charging any faster than 800 watts. You can see here the temperature of the battery is only 102 degrees, so no idea what that's all about. Of course, you can go to settings. You got battery protection, which allows you to set how much discharge you want for the battery. This is also where you change your charging power from 4 to 8 to 1200 watts. Turn on and off the beep. You can have it turn off the unit after so many hours or turn off the screen after so many minutes. And down here at the bottom is where you can do your firmware updates. That's all she wrote. So what do I think about the Infinity 1300? Well, I was very pleasantly surprised with all the feature updates, testing results, and extended warranty compared to last year's 1500 model. You now get a pair of 100 watt power delivery outputs instead of basic 60 watters. You get virtually 10 to 15% more usable power per kilowatt hour of the much longer life LFP battery. It's literally 10 decibels quieter than the outgoing model, and the bump from a 2-year to a 5-year warranty, just wow. GROWATT has certainly come a long way in the last half-year of development. Now, I think this GROWATT's actually in a perfect size niche for a lot of users as well. While it's no lightweight Jackery at 42 pounds, it's still certainly tossable for most adults, and you have to remember that this has an inverter that can run just about any 120 volt appliance off the grid. It also has a true 20 millisecond UPS feature and a clean output inverter, making this one of the most well-rounded mid-sized power stations out there. That being said, I'm trying pretty hard here to come up with some negatives for the 1300, and I can't think of anything significant. Now, probably my only gripe is going to be that those charging speeds are way too sensitive to battery temperature. If you discharge this unit at all and then try to recharge it from AC power, even if you have it set on 1200 watts, you're going to get maxed at 800 watts. So it's not really giving you the advertised charge speed unless the battery's like ice cold. And of course, this unit is missing a couple of nice haves, such as bidirectional USB charging, an expandable battery option, and a built-in lantern. How else are you supposed to flag down your little buddies upstairs? But adding all that would definitely bump the price above the sweet spot of $999, so it's actually smart of GROWATT to not include them. Product price. The launch price for the GROWATT 1300 is $999, which works out to only 55 cents per watt or 72 cents per watt hour. This certainly puts it into the lower price spectrum for all the features that you're getting. Now, of course, there's an exclusive discount code for viewers of HOBOTECH that'll knock a few more bucks off that already low price. Now, as for competition, the nearest modern competitor is probably going to be the ECOFLOW Delta 2. Both products have a lot in common, including that $999 price. However, the Delta 2 has more than 25% less battery capacity and only accepts 500 watts of solar up to 60 volts, whereas the GROWATT accepts 800 watts up to 100 volts. Now, with everything else pretty much being the same, the clear winner by a long shot is the GROWATT. Now, what about recommended solar? Since the GROWATT supports up to 800 watts of solar with a wide voltage range up to 100 volts and 12 amps, this lets you use just about any panels you want. If you need portable panels, I'd go with the 200 watt GROWATT panels. You can run 4 of those in series to max out this unit pretty easy peasy. If you want a more permanent solution, I'd recommend the Bouge RV or Renogy panels, which can be found on my website, hobotech.tv/Amazon under Solar Kits. Now, if you're interested in the GROWATT 1300, the link and discount code are going to be in the description of this video below. I'm also going to put a link here at the bottom of the screen that you can type in manually, and I'll also put a QR code over here that you can scan with any mobile device that'll take you on over to the GROWATT page where you can check out the Infinity 1300. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me that thumbs up below, and if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
If your search for something is a pain in the neck, go to YouTube and watch HOBOTECH, cause he's a testing this and he's a probing that. He's even been probing Odin his cat. If you wanna get all this Odin back, go to HOBOTECH. Yeah!
RV Golf Guy. Brian Blue, Bruce Johnson, Jason Sirocco, Marcus T.